Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a new video. So this video was actually intended to come out a little bit earlier, but I decided to move around what I wanted to do in each individual video a little bit. So I'm covering the topic of Mark Carney winning the Liberal leadership race a little bit late. Now, this is important for Canada, and the fact that Mark Carney, when polls showed this race perhaps being somewhat close, won 86% of the vote, and the fact that barely anyone voted. They say more than 150,000 people voted. Liberals have 400,000 members. You might say, that has to be fake. We go all the way back to 2021, they got 5.5 million votes. That can't be real. But those are active members who have I think you have to buy into the party. Otherwise, even if you don't have to, you have to put in a lot of effort um to become a member of the party. So the fact that barely any of them turned out isn't that great. But that's actually not what this video is on, because for some reason certain pollsters have decided to drive me insane. So we have the polling aggregate here. I Yeah, I don't think that national it's not, yeah, it doesn't let me. Oh, here. Yeah. So i- you can see the dot map of what is furthest away from the average um and what's more in line with the polls. And in line with the polls doesn't mean it's right. Take, for example, the fact that I think it was a Trump internal, McLaughlin, had him up by 2 in the popular vote, and our good friend Arrest Trump, a friend of the channel, decided to make fun of someone saying that that poll was a breath of relief. And he still refuses to admit that that poll was a good poll. So, even though some polls are out of tune with the aggregate, there is a good chance that they can still end up, uh, you know, somewhat accurate, but much like Rasmussen early on, showing Trump leading Biden by 10%, our good friends at Ecos, a little bit far off. The one, two, three, basically the three results furthest away from the average. Actually, I think this one's slightly further than this one. Um, and that one would be, yeah, Palace would be further, but for, four of the top five polls furthest away from the average in the direction of the Liberals are Ecos. So Ecos was one of the first pollsters to show the Liberals up. It was a big moment, and it showed that the Liberals could perhaps be rebounding. I suppose we could go here. Yeah, so Ipsos did show the Liberals up, but Ecos was one of the first ones to show Liberals up. I think the last poll with Liberals leading, we're not going to count that Nanos poll, was May 29th, 2023. So it was a big milestone, and Wikipedia hasn't updated it, but they do show another poll where the Liberals expand their margin of victory. Uh, Ecos released a new poll, and this is the result of it. Liberals now lead, according to Ecos, by 16.5%. This is the highest result for a single, I think, ever. Like, yeah, this is the highest result Liberals have gotten at all. In I think this is, yeah, this is since 2021. The CPC, I mean, they got 48 in one poll, and the Liberals just cracked that pretty easily here. So this is the tied for the highest raw percentage of the vote that any poll has shown one party having, and it's the Liberals having it. And modeled out, this poll becomes this monstrosity. Um, I don't even know what to say about this map. Uh, Besides for, I love how one Bloc and one Green Party members hold on by the slimmest of margins possible. But I'm not going to say to take this poll too seriously, because you have had Frank Graves. That's later. But you have had Frank Graves say he will do anything possible to prevent Poilievre, or Poilievre, I don't know how to pronounce his name, from becoming Canada's next prime minister. So I'm not exactly gonna trust him on his word, but it it's a worrying sign for conservatives because if you go down to the Wikipedia aggregate, um, you can see that it has narrowed a lot. Same thing with 338 Canada. Um, I assume I would go to all federal polls for this. Yeah, you've seen it narrow a lot. And most sites show this. Now, it does seem to be plateauing as of recently. I mean, obviously, this poll is going to fuck up the aggregate, especially on Wikipedia, since for some reason, what usually happens, you see this in RCP, I think to a lesser extent, 538 and all the other aggregates, but RCP, if the same pollster conducts two polls, only the most recent will be in the aggregate. So, if a pollster conducts another poll, their old poll is kicked out of the aggregate. It's a good way to balance for bias. And, like, if one pollster is flooding with heavily biased polls, only one of them is going to count. But Wikipedia doesn't do that. Wikipedia just counts every poll as the exact same thing. And guess where these outlier red dots are from? Those are all ecos, and they're weighted each, not just that all three of them are weighted individually, not like the most recent one is weighted, but they're all weighted the same as every other pollster. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, but I mean, it still is worrying that conservatives' lead in the polling aggregate has dissipated. Now, still, sites like 338 Canada show conservatives favor to at least get a minority. Um, and you do have other sites, Pullywave, run by Real Albanian Patriot, who created this map showing conservatives about like right at the line where they would get a majority versus a minority government. And a majority government's more stable. Plus, you don't have to worry about other parties for stuff like financial resolutions, and votes of no confidence aren't really a problem. So you can serve a full 4 years. So getting a majority government is pretty important. And I'd say, besides for ecos, which it, I don't even know what to say about this poll. This is simultaneously the funniest and dumbest thing I've ever seen. Um, yeah, but besides for ecos, it really seems like the only party that's going to be able to get a majority government is the conservatives, and I would say as of now they're probably favored to get a majority government, and I do think that the liberal resurgence will eventually go away. Now, it has been a long time coming. Like the Liberals were nearly tied with the NDP, and now the NDP is just they're gone. Like I think they got a better result. Um, if I'm not mistaken, they got a better result in 2021. I gotta see. Like they're projected to lose seats, but yeah, Hunter Chalkmeat saying they got 17.82%, which is kind of insane. Um, and right now they're projected to get 14%. They got 25 seats, which actually wasn't that good. Like they were expected to get a lot more seats, especially winning a lot of seats in Toronto earlier on in the cycle when Trudeau was still the leader. And now their caucus is just going to be halved, like cleanly split down the middle. Because you have liberals taking a lot of votes for them. It does seem like liberals are consolidating a lot of NDP voters. I don't understand how they're lower than their 2021 performance, and I'm inclined to believe that like Mark Carney, who's just a banker, um, who's like intertwined with the U.S., which is great when supposedly the only reason liberals are surging is because of hatred for the U.S. But I'm not very inclined to believe that the NDP is defecting that much to him. Like I still do think the NDP goes down. Um, from their performance in 2021. I don't think they crack 18%. I think that's a bit ludicrous, but ludicrous, I can't speak. But I do think that, they're not going to lose every seat. Like some polls show, like 8.8%. Like that's kind of insane that the NDP loses over half of their popular vote. I'd understand half of their caucus, half of their seats, but half of their popular vote seems a little bit too far. But I feel like a good comparison to draw between this election, um, And another one would be 1993. Now, 1993 uh, was a complete wipeout. What happened was Kim Campbell and the Conservatives got destroyed. They won two seats. Like, they nearly had their entire. They were, by the way, they were the governing coalition. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, they had a majority last time, and they just got destroyed, or 156. Yeah, they had a majority, so they got destroyed. But Kim Campbell, you might see, she actually wasn't the leader here, and that's because they replaced their leader, um, Brian Merloni, I think is how you pronounce that. They replaced their leader because he was deeply unpopular. Now let's go to the polls. The pools are. Ooh, wow. I mean, it's not as pronounced, and it hasn't happened over as quick of a time period, but you can still see a pretty drastic surge for the progressive conservatives, even though they were widely favored to lose re-election. They were nearly in fourth in the polling. They still managed to, you know, take the lead for a little bit, and they were expected to retain their majority government back when they had the lead in the polls. But what happened was the prime minister resigned, a new prime minister came in, they called a snap election immediately. Once that election happened, a lot of the luster around, finally, we've gotten rid of the unpopular prime minister and we have a new, fresh face of the party. A lot of that disappeared when a general election campaign happened. Another great example to tie it to would be the 2024 United States presidential election, which I don't have pulled up, but Biden dropping out probably was the best thing that could happen for Kamala Harris. I understand these people who are like, oh, the only reason she lost was because Biden actually ran. But she had the perfect occurrence and she still lost. But you did see a lot of that luster for her come around when Biden dropped out. She was seen as a fresh, new alternative. But that slowly dissipated as the election drew near. Like, I think if the election were December 5th rather than November 5th, she would have gotten blown off the face of the fucking planet. But even so, when she was still in her honeymoon to some extent, she still didn't do particularly well. So I think you could see a similar thing to this. Like, obviously, you're not gonna have like a new third party crop up out of nowhere. Um, and get third. Like, there's not gonna be the reform equivalent, which I guess would be it'd be the PPC if they were to the left of the liberals, but you're not going to see that. That's probably not happening. And I do expect the liberals to get more than two seats, but I still do think that it's going to be a hard election for the liberals because, like, besides for polls like this, they still are projected to lose a lot of seats. In these suburban areas. Like, it's taking a while to load because I guess Canadian Wi-Fi isn't nearly as good as American Wi-Fi. Maybe they need some freedom, if only. But even though they are projected to gain some NDP seats, I'm looking through. I actually can't see any. A lot of the NDP seats are flipping to conservative in this prediction. But even though they are expected to gain some, um, here that's Jagmeet Singh's riding. Liberals are expected to gain that. Chuck Reed is expected to get third in his own riding, which is hilarious. But you do see a lot of NDP ridings, especially out west, flipping to the conservatives. I, I don't know what the hell happened here. I don't know why that's flipping, but you do you. We are still also seeing the problems in Toronto that they've had for a while. Yes, it's gonna be weird if conservatives lose Eglinton Lawrence, since that is one of the elections they won in a by-election. But you still are seeing a lot of the Toronto suburban areas flip against the Liberals. You can see if we zoom in here, this map of Liberal support in Toronto is much more expansive than this map. You're seeing conservatives encroach on them on all sides, and you're even seeing like northern Toronto, which these aren't they're not like inner city Toronto because that's just like solidly liberal, but you're approaching inner city Toronto. Like, it's not like it's some hillbilly farmland. Like, these are somewhat liberal seats that are now put in jeopardy, and they're still in jeopardy. Like, this idea that the fortunes of the liberals have been instantaneously reversed, and now they're favored to form the next government, it is completely unrooted in any fact whatsoever. So, I would say that for now, don't panic. I don't think Carney is a good candidate. And I think that in the case he calls an early election, which I've been told he will call an early election like immediately when he's sworn in as PM, I don't I don't think it would end up too well for him. Like, you're not gonna have the same landslide as you would have had if Justin Trudeau stayed on. Like, if Justin Trudeau stayed on, um there was a serious chance Liberals did not win a single seat west of Ontario, which there was a chance that Liberals wouldn't win a single seat west of Toronto. Like, that's an insane, it's an insane premise. But you're not going to see that. That ship has sailed. The NDP isn't doing well enough to, uh, I guess, gobble up to win some of these more safe Liberal ridings that Conservatives just can't win. Um, like, I don't know, whatever that, I'm not pronouncing that, but that's the type of riding that only the NDP would be able to win. And the fact that they've gone from like 20% of the polls now to 14%, they're just not going to be able to win ridings like that. Um, so you won't see as much of a landslide as if Trudeau stayed on. Like, that would have been such an obliteration of the Liberals, you wouldn't have recovered from it. But I still do expect Conservatives to form a majority government. And I'm somewhat confident that there is a good chance that Conservatives have a minority, and even a chance that Liberals stay in the minority, or they stay in the plural. I guess they get the most seats. That's what I mean. But there's a good chance that that happens. But I'd say as of now, to put odds on it, 80, 75. Uh, I'd say 80% chance the Conservatives get a majority government, and out of the remaining chance, 50-50. So, like, 90% chance Conservatives form the government. Out of that, 80% is majority, 10% is minority, and then 10% chance Liberals have a minority government. I think it's like, I don't even think 338 Canada has it as a possibility where Liberals form a majority government. Oh no, they have a 2%. They have a 2% chance. Oh no! But yeah. Um anyways, yeah, like it's barely gone up, but you're still not going to reach any of these. Like, CPC is guaranteed to get a majority results, anyways. But anyways, thank you for watching. Sorry that this is a little bit late. I kind of procrastinated a little bit on making this video, but we're back. Woohoo! And this election, from what I've heard, should come soon enough. So that's going to be something interesting to chronicle. We'll see if Carney actually does call the snap election, and if so, probably expect one or two more predictions out of it. I know one guy who you've seen on streams before uh wanted to kill me over my election predictions. You can suck my cock, but I just gotta do them. I must predict. I have no mouse, but I must predict. Or no, not mouse. That's stupid. So you can see how I'm sleep deprived. I have no knowledge, but I must predict. Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna end this before I start incoherently rambling more than I already am. Why does the block run candidates outside of Quebec? Thank you for watching. Godspeed. Subscribe. There's